We're here again. I'm just reading. Guppy, what's up? Said dog. Hello. It's kind of an early one. But I'm bored and I don't know what to do, so. Yeah, we have a dog. Yeah. Oh, wow, hi. Oh, gosh. Love allergies. Hi. Thank you. This is Guppy. Hi. Look at that. I don't want to hold my phone. Hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm pretty good. Uh, I'm very bored and I have allergies, but other than that, I'm pretty good. I have like 2 hours until really I have anything. This is Cupcake. She's hi. This is Cupcake. What? 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 Why is there 29 people? Thank you. I was not expecting that. Yeah. I don't usually do live, so just thought I'd do one today because I'm. Oh, yeah. I just don't know what to do. Hi. There's a lot of you. I'm not crying. I have allergies. Hello. I'm sitting under. It's like I'm allergic to tree pollen, kind of, and I work outside every single day on the weekends. And I happen to be sitting under a pine tree. Hello, duck. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What? Is there a bird? Where's the bird? Or a person? Is there a person? No, there's no person. Yeah. I'm just chilling here. Yeah, we can just do like a. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really know what to do. I don't want to read my book. So, fun. I'm not crying. I have allergies. Yeah. I just look at the dog again. She lied down. There's a dog. Yeah. We could do like a I don't really know what to do. Yeah. Is there a boat or a truck? I can't tell. Yeah. Fun. I don't really. Where'd I put my book? There's my book. Okay. Hello. She says hi also. Cupcake. Hi. Yeah. Nothing really interesting. Hi. Yeah. The weather's a lot nicer today. It's less rainy. Thank you. She's just here. Fun. Yeah. Very fun. I just want it to be 2 hours. Does she? That was a big truck. Yeah. And she cupcake. Look at me. Ah. Yeah. That's exciting. Yeah, we're supposed to get rain later, I think, here, but I'm not sure. Um, it rained yesterday. That was nice. So, yeah, we're just cupcake. Don't eat that, sweetie. Fun. There's like nothing that happens here. I can't let her run here. There's a public road up there, so I don't want her going into the road. She has a very long leash though, and she can go places. Yeah, I might walk her around later. I have an extra leash, so yeah. She usually gets a lot of time outside, and she spends the whole day. Um, but yeah, up there is like a really main public road where there's huge construction trucks just zoom by. So she's on a leash, but she has plenty of space. She can go all the way. She just doesn't go anywhere, and she has food and water. Aw, what? Did you get bitten? You got bitten by a bug? Okay, where's the? Yeah, it's hard to lose pets. Yeah, got it. Oh, the sky's pretty. Yeah. Guy. I don't want to sit still, but I need to sit still because it's part of my job, and I don't want to sit still. Fun. What's up? I know you miss them. Yeah. Come here. Hi. They won't. She's very stubborn, and she doesn't really like anyone else. You're shedding a lot. I don't have a brush on me. What's up? I know there's a person. I know you want to say hi to the person. You can't say hi to the person. I know. I know. Yeah. Oh, there's a bug. Where's the bug? Yeah. Hi. Welcome. We're just chilling. And I don't really know what to talk about, so I'm rambling. So that's fun. I keep seeing boats go by and I get a mini heart attack each time. Hi. People watching is a lot of fun. I'm just chilling. I have like less than 2 hours. Cappy! Hi, sweetie! Yeah. Hmm. Trying to. I don't have anything I can do with you guys. Uh. There's a thing over there. Um. Yeah. Then. So. Fun, fun. We're chilling. Is there. Nope. Where's it? So much fun. Oh, I didn't bring lunch today. That's annoying. Did I bring any food? I think it's a goldfish or bag. That's a bag. Yeah. So much fun. Um, if I randomly mute, it is because I need to do something here, and I'm yeah, lots of fun. Yeah, we're just doing stuff. I didn't bring anything. I usually bring like a sandwich and like a salad or something. But I didn't bring anything today. I might go buy something if I have to stay. Or someone will bring me food. It's one of those two options. Yeah, I still have a while, but just wondering if I had any snacks. Yeah, let's just see. So nervous. That was fun. Yeah, mm, nothing really to do. I pretty much just sit here for 8 hours. That's all I do, so I don't really know what to talk about. Yeah, there's nothing really to do here. So, I just wanted to pass the time. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. Mhm. Mm, might read. Yeah, I can do some things, but I don't know what I want to do. We're just chilling, watching for any boats because why not? I'm kind of done with this. Yeah. Why is there so many people out? Read loud? You want me to read my book out loud? Okay. Okay. I can read it out loud for a little bit. Um, I don't know how to pronounce these names, so I might butcher them because it's a fantasy book, and you know that they're always complicated names. Callum ducked his head. I only wish I knew what I need to do to change into a person who meets his expectations. He hesitated, glancing at Edric. To be powerful, not just pretend to be or try to be, but actually be powerful. His brother seemed to take in everything that Callum said. The only thing you lack is confidence, Edric told him. You are a son of Kendrick. You already have the power you seek, everything that you require to become the person your father needs you to be. Then why don't you feel that way? Callum asked, a touch of desperation in his voice. You met with you will be met with challenges, Edric said carefully. You only need to know without any doubt that you are able to face those challenges. He turned away, clapping Callum on the shoulder as he started to leave. Don't worry, you'll have plenty of opportunity to prove yourself. Show us how powerful you can be. I'm not sure I know what power means. Sometimes, Callum said, before he could think better of it. Edric stared at Callum expressionately. I lost my place. Before he released a small laugh, placing a hand on Callum's head as he used to do when they were young. Thank you. Means a lot. I can keep going. Um, it's just bicyclist. I don't want them to think I'm reading out loud for no reason. Okay. small laugh played on Callum's head as he used to do when they were young. "You've always liked to ask questions," he said, and Callum wasn't sure if Edric saw this as a weakness or a strength. "Come with me," he said to Callum over his shoulder as he walked away. "Father wants to speak with you." Callum forced himself to bite back his fear and follow Edric. As they walked into the Claremont Manor, down a hall and then another step, through the maze of corridors, lights growing dimmer with every step. They walked into a hall that ended with a closed door for a room that Callum had always assumed was a private study of his father's. When he was young, Callum had sometimes heard shouts and screams of pain coming from this room and had learned to avoid it. The Kendrick Manor was old, and many old buildings had souls of the dead lost and unable to or willing to return to the Creator. As they approached the room, Callum could feel hairs on his arms stand. Edric whispered a word and opened the door without knocking. He gestured for Callum to enter. The rusting scent of burned iron and the smell of salt and mildew was so strong that it made Callum dizzy. With his eyes adjusted to the shadows, he saw the sticky reddish-brown stains on the ground. He realized that he wasn't smelling burnt iron at all. His stomach twisted. Edric shut the door behind Callum, shoulders back and head raised, but even his older brother couldn't hide the quick quiver of his nerves in his vibration. Something Callum had learned he was quite good at picking up on since Ramsay had begun to teach him alchemy. "What is this?" Callum gasped, staring at his brother. "Edric?" His brother didn't speak. Edric only waved a hand forward. Callum took a shaky breath as he began to walk. They were in some sort of dungeon, and it made very clear as they passed the bars of cages chains hanging out from the ceiling. There was a sliver of a window that let in gray light. And Callum could also see that they were no longer in Claremont or his family's mansion. From the silhouette of the city buildings and warehouses, he could be anywhere in the state. He reached the end of the dungeon's hall and almost jumped when he saw his father standing in the middle of one of the cells. He wasn't alone. Another man was seated in a chair. Hands bound behind his back. A black sheet wrapped the man's head as he tried to shut around his neck. Callum could see he was crying and shaking. "Drink some water." Yeah. Let me see if I can find my water. Okay. Water's been drunk. Where was I? But Callum could see he was crying from the shaking of his shoulders and his low noises. "Please, please." Callum was going to be sick. He looked from the man to his father, whose cold eyes watched Callum's every movement and response. Callum usually would have wanted to do what he could to put on a performance to earn his father's respect, but now... "What is this?" he said. His words sounded too loud. Winslow Kendrick glanced down at his prisoner. "We are currently in the dungeons of Henge. This man is set to be executed tomorrow." The man's noises grew louder. "I spoke to the executioner, and the arrangement was made." This is kind of dark. Yeah. Hello. Calms began to shake his head, taking a step back. This is a long-standing tradition in the House Kendrick, his father said, to prove your strength, your loyalty, and your duty to your family before you come of age. By unaliving someone, Callum said, his voice hoarse. The man shuddered. By taking a life, yes, his father said, hands behind his back. Of a person worthy of living, unworthy of living. We are the house of order, the house of discipline. This is the tradition we've all performed. Callum looked at Edric and could see from the coldness that he had shuddered his brother's eyes that it was true. Before Edric turned 18, their father must have brought him to these dungeons too, and ordered him to unalive another person, along with their brothers. He shook his head. No, he said. No, I can't. His father took one long stride forward and backhanded Callum. Callum's head snapped to the side, his cheek and nose and lips stinging. This he wasn't surprised by. This Callum practically honored. At least it was familiar. Another comforting in the face of horror as he was expected to commit. Edric mirrored his father's stance, hands behind his back. It's better if it's done quickly, Callum. Thinking about it only makes it worse. The man flinched. Please, he choked. I beg of you. You knew, Edric said to Edric. Callum said to Edric. Betrayal clogging his throat. You knew he was always you knew he was asking for me to come here and it isn't murder. Edric corrected calmly. It's just an execution. House Kendrick is in charge of executions. In order of justice for all of the state of New Algia. How we command our soldiers, our red guards, to execute and kill others in the name of our house, without knowing the full weight of what it means to take a life ourselves. Winslow was not as patient. He turned to a wall where rusted weapons waited, drawing a dagger. He marched to Callum and thrust the blade into his hands. If you do not unalive this man, he murmured in his son's ear, then I will unalive both him and you. Callum knew this was no ideal threat. He could feel how his father would rather Callum be dead than be a son who was unwilling and unable to fulfill his duty. Callum wasn't sure how maybe they could be blamed on sudden illness. Callum thrown from a cliff of his father's own guards, a tragic accident where he fell, where he was out riding alone. Winslow stepped away from Callum. His brother and father watched him silently, waiting. Callum looked down at the blade in his hands. Ash didn't want to see the killing. He yanked his fingers away, shaking. Do you see now? Callum asked. Do you see why it wouldn't be so surprising if... He seemed unable to finish his sentence. Ash had a harder time looking at him now. He nodded. It's called Infinity Alchemist by Kason Colliander. If you want to find it. You didn't have a choice, Ash said softly. And the man, he was going to be executed anyway. He died by the unskillful hand of a 17-year-old. He deserved a swifter death, no matter his crime. Callum said, his voice hardened. I'd been so fearful before that moment, but afterward, when I saw how far my father was willing to go, I forced myself to play the role of the perfect son, even that I couldn't, even that I couldn't do. That's when you told her, isn't it? Ash asked. That's when you ended your relationship with Ramsay. Callum swallowed. I was afraid that if my father discovered us, he would punish me, have me kill Ramsay myself. Maybe before he killed me too. At least Ash could better understand Callum now, even if he'd hurt Ramsay. Ash slipped his hand into Callum's palm unthinkingly, only wanting comfort the Kendrick boy who, despite himself, Ash had truly become to think of as a friend. I think that Ramsay would appreciate knowing why. Callum looked down at their hands with some surprise, but the soft gaze he gave Ash when he looked back was genuine. He squeezed Ash's hand. Yes, I agree. Ash blushed, pulling his hand away. The conductor's voice announced that they would be pulling into Ironbound Station within the hour. They were 1 hour away from Ramsay, from finding her, from helping her. Ash's nerves pumped. He was an hour away from demanding an explanation from her, too. For some context, because you guys don't know this, Ash and Ramsay are dating. Yeah, they're boyfriend girlfriend. But that's not really said. It's probably your information here. And Ramsay ran away after betraying Ash, and now Ash is looking for Ramsay. Why is someone ringing the bell? Did they find a giant fish? They found a giant fish, I'm assuming. Yeah, that's some context. Ironbound was similar to Henge. There were warehouses and docks, smoke soiling the air, and frozen streets filled with people who knocked past with glares. Ash wished he fought harder when Callum had insisted on buying new clothes. They got more than a few stares for the quality of their cloaks and shoes they left the station, as they left the station, luggage in hand. Yeah, because we're on page 248. You've missed a lot. Yeah. I can explain a little more if we need more context, if that's what people want, because there's kind of a lot of missing information so far. Yeah. Okay, I'll continue. Yippee. Okay. Where was I? What did the cloaks look at? Ash was sure he'd heard someone mutter that they should go back to Kingston. Does anything look familiar to you? Callum asked, ignoring the looks they received. Did you see her on any of these streets? Source knew it wouldn't be that easy. I think she was farther away from the center of the city. The buildings were more spaced out, Ash said. Okay. Probably here's another context piece. So Ash So Ash pretty much he's a wanted person because he's an unlicensed alchemist who used magic and almost destroyed a school. And yeah, with help from Ramsay, they're looking for something called the book, and they have a location, so they're gonna go find the book. I'm not gonna disclose that one. Um, and pretty much they were found by Callum's family and captured because Ash is a fugitive on the run, and that's how Ash met Callum. Ramsay left, but that's how those two met, and now the both of them are running away from Callum's family. I keep ringing the darn bell. I don't want to hear the bell. Okay. Where did I go? Where was I? I said searching for anything recognizable, but I don't know for sure. I should have brought tissues. Callum nodded with only some impatience, though Ash didn't think it was directed at him. It'd been a long journey. Well, it wouldn't do us any good to stand here all day. Let us find an inn. We get some ice for your hand and wrap it. There's a bug. But won't dis- Ash narrowed his eyes at Callum, annoyed that he stepped into Redguard commander mode. I don't want to waste any time. We should start looking for her now. We don't even know where to begin, Ash. It's better to attempt another remote viewing once we're settled, he said. We can try to pinpoint where Ramsay is hiding, so we can at least have an idea where to search. Ash hated that Callum was right. Fine. They wandered the streets until Ash was forced to approach a man smoking against a wall and ask where the nearest inn was, Scarf carefully hiding his face. Closest inn is the Scarecrow, a few blocks down, the man said, gruffily, eyeing Ash. But the best inn for avoiding Reds is the White Pig. Ash wondered if that tipped him off, if it was a risk admitting to this man that he didn't want to be found by Red Guards, but he asked for directions nonetheless. He and Calvin made their way through the maze of brick apartments and warehouses. Closer to the outskirts of the city, the docks, salt lingering in the air. The roads were slippery with ice. Ash imagined Ramsay walking through these roads on her way to the market, perhaps wanting to hunker down in Ironbound for as long as possible before patrols relaxed and she moved on. The sun had risen higher now, but the gray clouds made the sky dim. Ash shivered as he pulled his scarf tighter around his cheeks. He was grateful when Callum seemed to notice and stepped closer, blocking the icy wind from hitting him. The White Pig was hidden in an alley, easily missed. Ash and Callum had to double back around twice before they finally saw the small swinging sign above the door. Letters faded. Inside it seemed nothing more than an ill-lit old two-story pub. There was one patron in the corner. The innkeeper stood behind the bar's counter, glaring as if unhappy to see customers. Ash needed to do a double take. The man reminded him so much of Frank, but Frank was slightly taller and thinner, and this man was a bit younger. "One room, please," Ash said when they approached. Though Callum would be the person paying, he didn't see any point in wasting the coin. The bartender stared hard at Callum, then down at Ash. He made the assumption with a sneer. This inn isn't a place for. You have better luck at Southend." Ash wasn't sure who was more mortified by the sentence that followed him or Callum. Ash stammered and stuttered, unable to find the right words to form words. "No, Source, you're mistaken," but Callum stepped forward. "You've caught us," he said. Ash whipped his head to gape at Callum, aghast, but Callum only put on a polite smile. "Southend isn't to our taste. We prefer to stay here." He dropped his coin pouch on the counter with a clink. The bartender watched Callum like he didn't believe the Kendrick boy for a moment. But coin had a way of swaying people's minds. "As long as you don't bring any trouble." "No one should come looking for us, but if they do, well, I'm willing to pay a little extra for you to say we went to Southend, like you suggested." The bartender's sneer grew as he reached for a key behind the counter. "Rich boys have plenty of extra coin on their hands, eh? In my day, we'd find an alley and be done with it." Ash suppressed a disgusted shiver. Callum gave a tight smile. "Yes, well, my lover is a little too precious for that." Ash swallowed a gag. All this, plus the word lover, was too much to bear. So here are those people. I'll go back to them. Oh, here. They're around my age, so I just don't want to be reading out loud. Okay. Where was I? Oh, Callum added, as if he didn't notice that Ash was about to be sick on the floor. "And could we have a cup of ice, please? We need to find ways to make the love life interesting." He winked. The innkeeper only muttered an indifferent response and handed Callum a cup and a key as Ash tried hard not to die on the spot. "It's a good idea." Okay. I can try to do that. I might finish this book before that, but I'm a really fast reader. Okay. Where? Ash tried not to die on the spot. As the two made their way up the stairs and to their new room, Ash could hardly look at Callum. He wasn't sure why the conversation below mortified him so much. He wasn't a prude, but when he thought about how Callum had sensed Ash's attraction. Ash had been physically attracted to Ramsay, not at first. She was pale and thin and had appeared fragile before. Ash learned how resilient she was. But as Ash got to know her, the more he began to care for her, and more his attention grew. But Ash's physical attraction to Callum had been instantaneous. He was horrified to admit that himself that his attraction had only grown more the more time they'd spent together. Callum's softer personality might have annoyed Ash once. He preferred Ramsay's biting sarcasm, but Ash knew the boy had officially won his friendship. Ash cared about Callum. They stomped up the creaking wooden stairs and down the musty hall. There were voices in the room they passed, a muffled shout. Callum slid in the key and unlocked the door with a click, pushing it open. The room reminded Ash of the apartment he'd left behind in Hedge. There was a single bed that he wasn't so sure would fit Callum, much less both of them. One would have to sleep on the floor, and a wooden wardrobe was pushed up against the wall. An open doorway showed a sliver of a bathroom's molding tub, providing enough evidence that Ash wouldn't want to spend more time in there than necessary. A tiny window let in very little wintry gray light, and the bulb's chain that Ash pulled didn't make the room much brighter. Ash sighed with relief as he dropped his bag, but he paused when Callum didn't follow him inside. He turned around, then smirked when he saw the expression on Callum's face. Doing all right? He asked. Callum hesitated. This is the room, he said. Careful, Kendrick. Your spoiled house air is showing. Callum glanced around uncertainly as he stepped inside, also placing his bag down and closing the door behind him. He went to the window and stared at the alleyway below, then up at the sky, likely for some sort of Red Guard strategy. Figuring out the best way to make a quick exit, perhaps. I don't mean to sound spoiled. I'm just surprised, is all. I guess anything less than boredom than a bedroom the size of most people's apartments would be surprising. Callum seemed satisfied with whatever he found at the window and shrugged off his cloak while Ash unraveled his scarf with one hand, still gingerly holding the other. The bruising had gone down, but it still stung to move his fingers. Callum stepped closer, not too hard to do. The room was quite small anyway, and inspected Ash's knuckles. It's getting better, but it could still use proper icing. May I? Ash stared at the ground so it wouldn't appear he was flustered as Callum dumped the ice into a handkerchief and pulled up. He pulled from his back. Why did you pack a handkerchief again? A gentleman never knows when he'll need one, Callum said. It was hard for Ash to tell if the other boy was joking or not. Callum took Ash's hand. He tied the handkerchief around Ash's palm twice so the ice rested on top of the cloth that was bundled against his knuckles. The cold seared his skin for a moment before it went numb. Ash glanced up at Callum. The older boy frowned with concentration, working with a level of care that reminded Ash of the way he'd touched his seedlings and plants at Lancaster. Alan looked up, meeting Ash's eye, and dropped his gaze again. You really would make a good healer, Ash said, more to cover up the uncomfortable silence. Do you think so? Callum asked. He let go of Ash's hand, checking his work. Most people would disagree, I think, given my last name. Most people like to make assumptions without really knowing anything at all. I made assumptions about you too, but before I really had the chance to get to know you. Yeah. Callum rubbed the back of his neck as if he was nervous now. Ash wasn't sure the room was large enough for them and their awkwardness. I did the same to you, I suppose. Callum murmured. He cleared his throat. I'll get us something to eat from the pub. What? Ash said. No. I want to begin remote viewing. You'll need my energy to be successful, Callum said. And right now, I don't have any because I'm hungry. I'll be quick. You can take the opportunity to wash up if you'd like. Ash agreed with a sigh. He had to admit he was starving too. Callum left, locking the door behind him as Ash went into the bathroom and pulled off his clothes and his binder, struggling with one hand. The tub's water was lukewarm at best for a few moments before it became ice cold, so Ash was quick to scrub down and dry off with the inn's threadbare towel. He realized he tried to put his binder around his chest. He realized as he tried to pull his binder around his chest again that it was impossible without both hands. Another reason to feel uncomfortable as he shared a room with Callum. Then, Ash's chest was small, like the rest of his frame, but it had made him uncomfortable the moment it began to grow. In his dreams, he always had a flat chest, like Ramsay's. The flashes of memories he received from past lives had been bodies with flat chests too. These things hanging from him felt like an extra appendage that simply didn't belong. Yeah. The only thing that Ash found strange was that there was another appendage. Nope, not gonna read that. Keep it PG. He opened the bathroom door and surprised to find that Callum was already back, hunched over 2 plates what appeared to be stale bread. I didn't hear you come in, Ash said, running his hand through his wet curls. Callum blinked at him, as if startled by something. Ash didn't know what, then stared hard at the plate. This was all they had. Aren't you going to wash up also? I did last night before we left. It was obvious that Callum simply didn't want to wash in a bathroom that was below house standards. As capable as Callum seemed, it appeared he had a more difficult time on his journey than Ash expected. No matter. Let's begin. Trying to keep this book. It's not like a bad book, it's just things in it that are vague that I don't want to read out loud. So, okay. The flicker of images that flashed through Ash's mind were difficult to untangle. Brick row houses that many he and Callum had seen on their walk to the inn alone, much less across the entire city. The grey ocean from the busy docks and the empty square of the dead tree standing in its center. Ash and Callum left the inn to begin their search through the city streets, watching for the images Ash had seen. Whenever he saw a red guard, Ash's nerves pumped, certain they'd be ordered to stop, grateful when they continued unscathed each time. Yeah, I can change. I don't really have anywhere to put it, but where can I put this? Is that better? I can't read the chat that way, but hard. That should work. Is that good? That's no problem there. I'm gonna try to keep it off the road because cars go by. There we go. Okay, that's a better view. Where were we? Okay. The two walked for hours until Ash's feet ached and his cheeks stung in the cold. His injured hand throbbed. He was so frustrated he could scream. When they reached the abandoned square, you're welcome, Ash lost his last sliver of hope. He imagined that Ramsay would be waiting for them beneath the tree. He walked up to it and saw a faded plaque beneath, reading that this had been the hanging tree of iron-bound criminals for over a century. He imagined that Ramsay had been here, maybe only hours ago, before she moved on. Darn it, he shouted, kicking the tree's trunk. He stopped only when Callum put a large hand on his shoulder. Take a breath, he said. He looked pointedly at some passerby who had turned to them, alarmed. Attacking a city monument was certainly a way to get caught by the Reds. Ash did what he was told, taking in a slow breath and releasing it. He remembered how he and Ramsay had shared so many similar breaths, too. How can you be so calm? He asked. You're assuming I am, Callum said, with a small, tired smile. I'm frustrated too, Ash, but there isn't much we can do now. Let's go back to the inn when we rested. We'll have an easier time figuring out our next steps. Stop trying to do this. They were silent for the entire walk, lost in their own thoughts. Even as they marched back up the stairs, they opened their room's door. Ash sat on the bed as he kicked off his boots, defeated. He knew it would be difficult to find Ramsay, but now it felt impossible. They'd have better luck screaming her name in the streets, hoping she'd eventually shout back. Yes. Callum pulled off his cloak and shoes, also picking up both his own. Ash lined them up by the door. Maybe there was something he was trying to do as a Red. Don't give up after one day. We'll find her. Ash didn't meet Callum's eye. It seemed Callum was getting better at reading Ash's emotions the more time they spent together. I think that's partly why I'm on edge too, he admitted. Callum gave him a curious look. Why? Ash didn't mean to be so vulnerable, but maybe he hadn't realized how close he started to feel to Callum. It was hard not to trust the other boy after the memory he'd shared with Ash. Difficult to not want to share a part of himself too, because then I'll have to figure out how to feel both happy and relieved that I found her, while also angry and betrayed that she left me behind in the first place. Callum sat at the head of the bed, resting his back against the wall, legs crossed. He considered Ash. I can see why that'd be difficult. It'll probably be complicated for you when you see her again, too, Ash said, a little more stiffly this time. He glanced up at Callum. Right? Callum nodded slowly, frowning at something over Ash's shoulder. Yes, you could say that. I know how I feel about her. I know I want to apologize, explain myself, and promise I'll never hurt her like that again. He met Ash's eye. But I don't know how she'll react to me. She might reject me, creator. I'm not sure what I'll do. I've given everything with the hope that she'll forgive me. Ash tried to bite down the curiosity that grew, but it wasn't much use. You really must love Ramsay a lot to be willing to do so much. Ooh. Where's the dog? Yes, but you know what it's like to love Ramsay too. Again, loomed the thread of the unspoken rivalry between the two. But Callum didn't seem concerned as he adjusted his legs, stretching them out behind Ash with a contented sigh. Ash could see how Ramsay would have fallen in love with Callum. His kindness and patience was comforting, and a comforting gaze and hands. His hands were large and rough, but his touch was always careful and soft. Ash had never seen any memories of Ramsay and Callum, but he was curious about that now. He knew how Ramsay Ash glanced up to find Callum's stare. In a few seconds of silence, Ash realized that all his emotions, and perhaps the thoughts that went along with them, were on full display. He froze, unsure of what to do or say, unable to look away from Callum's steady gaze. Usually he'd pretend like nothing had happened at all, maybe make some sorry excuse that he threw back on his shoes and left the room. But it felt like there was no sense in hiding it now. Not when Callum watched him the way he did, eyes hooded. If you're attracted to me, Ash, Callum said, why won't you just say so? Ash forgot how to breathe. He blinked, finally looking away at the hands he held together in his lap. I don't know what you mean. There isn't any point in lying about it, is there? Callum's smile was only slightly amused. Even if I couldn't feel your emotions, it isn't hard to notice the way you look at me. Okay. Got Certain corner. Okay. Ash was bewildered by his straightforwardness. The shared quarters were already uncomfortable enough. In the name of Source, why would Callum say any of this? Why couldn't he have gone on pretending he hadn't noticed? They wouldn't be able to return any semblance of normalcy now. They'd be too embarrassed to return to any. They'd be too embarrassed to look at, or even speak to each other. And still, Callum only watched Ash, waiting for his response. Callum Ash took this as a challenge and turned his face to Callum fully. Fine, he said. Yes, I admit it. I found you attractive from this time to time. It's nothing I could help because believe me, if I could control it, I wouldn't be attracted to you of all people. But here I am, so here we are. Now go ahead, laugh all you want. Why would I laugh? Isn't that why you interrogated me about it? Ash said. Because you think it's funny? He could see no other reason. No, Callum said plainly. Not at all. The way you feel isn't funny to me. Then what was the point? Why couldn't we have shown Ash some pity and let it go? He just wondered why you didn't say any. I just wondered why you didn't say anything. Why you've been so open about everything else you feel. Callum said. He finally looked away from Ash, and I decided it might be good. It might be a good chance to tell you. I've begun to feel the same. Ash, for the second time in many minutes, forgot that air was necessary. He opened and closed his mouth, then said, I'm sorry. What? Callum gave a small laugh now, though more at himself. I'll admit, I hadn't considered it until I realized you were attracted to me the other night. But once the thought formed, his smile faded and his gaze reached Ash's again. I'm tired of hiding how I feel. I have too many regrets pushing away what I want because I'm afraid. What about you, Ramsay? Ash asked. I've learned from my mistakes with her, Callum said. I've wasted so much of my life suppressing myself for the sake of my family. I'm attracted to you, Ash. I don't want to hide that from you or myself. I don't want to hide anything that I want anymore. Ash wondered vaguely if Callum only said that now because he'd lost everything. Maybe he'd become unhinged without even fully realizing it. Ash related. Maybe, Callum whispered. Even so, that doesn't change the truth. Would it really hurt to welcome a distraction like this? Even if it did, Ash had stopped thinking several minutes ago. He crawled forward, careful not to hurt his hand as he leaned onto his knees, one on either side of Callum's leg, who waited with a smile that quivered with nerves. At least Ash wasn't one to be scared. You won't. This isn't a prank, Ash whispered. No, this isn't a prank. You won't regret what we've done the moment this is over, will you? Callum's smile faded as he hesitated. I can't promise how I will or won't feel, he eventually said. Somehow that was good enough for Ash. He pressed his lips to Callum's. Okay. Ash turned, kissing Callum's mouth again, even more eagerly, now than before. Snow had fallen high enough to reach her knees, but luckily a snow path had been cleared through the field. Smoke drifted on the breeze, a gray haze that covered the sky. A door opened, warmth from the fireplace touching her skin. A woman greeted her and said, didn't know who Thorin was, and didn't have the fanciest idea that there had been an attack on a college. Ash couldn't hear what either said as the door closed behind them. He opened his eyes. Callum stared back into them intensely. Did you see anything? He asked. Ash closed his eyes again, frustrated. Source, it's confusing. I could sense that she was near the city, even if I couldn't see it. There was a field and a cabin, too. Ramsay's already left, ironbound then. Factories were also nearby, I think. There was smoke. She must be on the outskirts now. There's a mining town at the base of the mountains, Callum said. It's hard to read. Where'd I go? It didn't surprise Ash that he would know something like that. It'd probably be Callum's responsibility to learn about small towns and villages near major cities as a commander in training. The smoke could have been from the drills. Ash stood without another word. He had a hard time looking at Callum as he grabbed his bag. Then we should get going, he said, before she moves on again. It'll take about a half day to travel there, Callum said. It was still morning, the sun barely risen. Even more reason to leave quickly then, Ash said. We should try and get there before dark. Ash and Callum were quiet as they packed. Ash was annoyed. Callum had been the one to continue meeting Ash's eye with a pleased smile, leaning in for kisses as they lay together cuddling. Well, as Ash lay on top of Callum anyway, since there hadn't been enough space for them to lie down side by side. Callum acted as if everything was perfectly fine and he had no regrets at all. But Ash felt confused and frustrated by his confusion. Ash caught Callum staring. You're not in my head again, are you? I don't hear thoughts every minute of every day, you know, Callum said as he shrugged on his coat. I don't have enough control over it. Yeah, I just don't know what else to talk about. And it's not difficult to read, it's more. This book, I have to skip large chunks of the book sometimes. Because it's a young adult book. And I have a younger audience, so. I would recommend reading it at some point. I'm missing a lot of details, but this is what it looks like and what it's called. I can keep reading. It's not that hard. It's hard to. I've changed some words. In Ash and Callum's reaction, in their how they have interacted with each other. So, if you do read this book, it's not going to be exactly like how I read it. I'm skipping one because I don't want to read this out loud, and two, I don't want YouTube to cancel. Yeah, it's just me. I have a younger audience, so I don't usually read books out loud, and I make PG content. This book is PG, but it's more young adult-ish, so it's not all sunshines and rainbows, so we're just trying to make it not dark. Would recommend though, but it does have a lot of different themes in it. Yeah. It has I don't really understand the relationships, but Yeah. Oh, I have an hour. Let's go. I have an hour. Woo. Okay, where was I? Good, Ash said, turning away as he closed his duffel. I'm not in the mood for an invasion of privacy right now. Callum didn't reply. Ash wondered if it meant for their relationship. Were they just two friends like Ash had been with Tobin? Or did Ash care about Callum the same way they both loved Ramsay too? It was a confusing mess of thoughts and emotions that couldn't begin to untangle. He just wrapped his scarf around his face when a hand clasped his own. Ash paused, releasing a breath. Is everything all right, Ash? Callum asked softly. No, Ash said. There is no point in talking about it now. We need to find Ramsay. I think it is better we talk this through, Callum said. It doesn't help us to be uncomfortable and distracted. That could put us both and her in danger ultimately. Ash bit his lip as he forced himself to face Callum. I'm confused is all, Ash said. Confused about how you feel about me? Callum asked. Maybe it was a lucky guess, or maybe Callum was more in tune with Ash's emotions than he realized. It angered Ash that it felt like he didn't have free thoughts of his own, protected from Callum's ability. Yes, he admitted, frustrated and confused about who we are to each other, and what this means for how I feel about Ramsay. And Ash had rambled on without meaning to, but he stopped himself before he could admit the most vulnerable part of all. But Callum only watched him steadily, waiting, perhaps even already knowing what Ash would say. He forced himself to continue. Confused about how you feel about me, too. Callum nodded, unsurprised. Our friendship is new, Ash, but I know that I care about you, he said. I want our little relationship and my feelings for you to grow. And what relationship do we have now? I hope that we're friends. I would like that, Callum said, voice hoarse, if you would too. After last night, it'd be difficult to pretend that he didn't want the same. I do, he said after a moment. But what about Ramsay? Callum took in a steady breath. I love her, like I've always loved her for years. You sound defensive, Kendrick. Not defensive. I'm only speaking the truth. And you know that I love her too. You can't pretend you don't give anything about me. Callum looked away. Why do I get the sense you're trying to pick a fight with me, Ash? Ash swallowed. Better to get the fight out of the way now, isn't it? You're assuming that we have to fight at all. Don't we? Ash said. We both want Ramsay. I don't know how Ramsay will react if she sees me again, Callum said. To be fair, I don't know how she'll react to you either. She could reject me and want you. She could reject you and want me. She could reject us both. Ash's breath tightened. He could imagine Ramsay choosing Callum and leaving Ash behind again. Callum had been the love of her life, after all, long before Ramsay had even met Ash. And then Callum spoke pretty words now. What if he realized he wanted Ramsay and only Ramsay, and both abandoned Ash? It seemed to be the story of his life, to be left by the people he loved. The odds suggested that it would only happen again. Callum continued. I don't think it's fair for us to consider what Aunt Ramsay does and doesn't want without her input. Ash groaned. Source, I hate when you sound so reasonable. Maybe Callum was right. Maybe it wasn't fair to Ash to decide what Ramsay would do. Maybe it wasn't fair to Callum either, assuming he would choose only Ramsay, when Callum probably didn't even know what he would do himself. How are you so unbothered by this? Ash asked. But the other boy only laughed. Hi. Welcome back, everyone. We're just reading a book. I believe it's already been like an hour. Okay. Um, how are you so bothered by all this? Ash asked, but the other boy only laughed. Do you really think I'm unbothered? Really? His laugh faded. through an uncertain smile, though an uncertain smile lingered. I'm just so scared. I'm just as scared as you are, Ash. They looked at each other for a long moment before Ash reached for Callum's hand, who let him take it with some relief. Looking at Ash's fingers, he considered kissing them. I suppose we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Yeah. We moved on to reading a book out loud. It's a good book. I have probably about another hour. Just a heads up. So, yeah. Okay, where was I? Okay. Ash was eager to leave, but Callum insisted on stopping by the innkeeper below and making several orders of dried fruit and meat. We don't know how long we'll be traveling, he said, and we don't know where we'll find our next meal. When they finally left the inn, Ash wasn't sure if it was only his imagination or there was really a sudden rise in the number of red guards on patrol. The two ducked their heads and changed streets and blocks several times. Ash's nerves growing tight in his chest. After avoiding the fifth patrol, Callum murmured, "Word's likely to spread that you escaped with me. Either someone recognized us on the train to Ironbound, or there's been a patrol increase in all major cities." It won't be every day, but it'll be every day that I'm working. I I don't know when that'll be, but it will be for when I'm here. I might be able to get away with every day, but it would be a different time most days. Okay. Yeah. Cause Friday, Saturday, Sunday normally is when I would most likely do them every day. During the week, I usually take that time off from YouTube, and if I am making videos, it's just a quick little video to show I'm alive. So yeah, but whenever I have some time, I'll see if I can stream for a bit and just read. I have another good book that we're almost done with this one, but okay. They made it to the station without being stopped. Along the street were rows of horse-drawn carriages and bored drivers who chewed on gum and only became animated when a potential passenger walked past. There was one driver who sat at the very end of the row, head nodding as he fell asleep. He appeared to be younger than Ash by a few years, and when Ash and Callum approached, he eyed them warily. "Good day, sir," Callum said. "I have a question for you." The boy stared back at him indifferently. Would you like What would you do if a fight were to break out in front of you, here and now? The boy snorted. "Depends on what I'm paid to do. And if you're paid nothing, I'd mind my own business and go back to sleep." It was good enough. There's a mining town on the base of the mountains outside of Ironbound, Callum said. "That's Dunsbrow," the boy said, as if he told a bad joke. Callum extracted his coin pouch and gave the boy a handful of sterling. "That's half now. I'll provide the other half when we arrive at the town." The boy counted the sterling, and when he reached 100, he looked at Callum and Ash with suspicion. Maybe in that moment he realized who the increase of Red Girl guard patrols was for, and he finally nodded his head at the carriage. But he finally Callum and Ash clambered inside, closing the door. The carriage smelled like wood and cleaning solution, the purple cushions on the seats worn and stained. Neither complained as the boy pulled on the reins. and the horses began to clop forward, the carriage rocking back and forth. Ash stared out the window at Ironbound, glad to be leaving. Though he'd grown up in Henge, he was starting to think that he didn't have much of a heart for cities. He looked up to find Callum watching him. Callum didn't seem to care he'd been caught. He gave a small smile. Don't start to gaze longingly at me, Ash said. Is that what you think I was doing? Why else would you be staring at me? Annoying. I was imagining the next place we would go to. Ash blushed, rubbing the back of his neck. You're pretty bold, you know that? I've been told. They were silent for long moments before Ash found himself self-curious. Is Ramsay the only other person you have loved? Callum was shyer now. No. McKinley isn't as conservative as you think. I I've loved other people, especially after I told Ramsay I couldn't see her anymore. I was desperate to distract myself. Hmm? Just some not appreciated chats with multiple warnings. That's what happens sometimes. You get some chats that you don't appreciate. You really don't feel guilty? Why would I? I can't stop feeling that I've betrayed Ramsay. Callum frowned. I don't think we've done anything wrong. Neither of us have an agreement with Ramsay to be in a relationship with only her. I did. I removed them. We're not going to see them again. Just annoying because this happens way too much. There's always someone that has to make comments or just chat something that's not appreciated. Yeah, I'm used to it. I have it often, too often, and I don't like it. But people don't respect boundaries. I usually just ignore it and just either time them out, delete the first messages, then time them out for 10, then 30, and if they're still doing it, I just block them. But it's hard when I don't have mods and I have to keep an eye on my chat list myself. Okay. When we studied it, this exception that people should only love one other at a time. That is true, I guess. And it isn't as if we should only feel attraction and love for one person. I've never understood it. This expectation that people should only love one other at a time. It doesn't. Isn't that what alchemists say? Energy is infinite, and love is energy, so love has a potential to be infinite too. Ash grinned as he shook his head. Spoken like a true healer, he said. And at Callum's confusion, he explained. That's the main premise that goes into healing from the text I've read. The idea that healing requires love. And and we can all love one another if we chose to. But they say in order to heal, you need to be the first to believe that love is limitless. I've got 30 minutes. Callum looked pleasantly surprised at this, happy he'd passed the first requirement in becoming a healer. Ash felt himself brighten at Callum's excitement. It was funny how Cendric could go from be a calm Redguard one moment, to be a boy guiltily eager about alchemy the next. It was only made Ash more interested in Callum's little hypocrisies. He thought in Callum's memory. His gangly younger self cupped the bird in his hands, and imagined him now, still wanting to heal small things. How much healing did Ramsay teach you? Ash asked, forcing himself to look back out the window. That's okay. Just a book. Just reading what the pages say. Hello. Okay. Only little cuts and things of the like. We never got far into the subject. Well, Ramsay's main interest had never been healing. She'd focused on mathematics of alchemy, so it made sense that she wouldn't be the best teacher for it. Ash wouldn't be much better. He knew the theory he'd read from text, but still, a part of him wanted to see the excitement in Callum's eyes again. I can teach you some, he said, glancing back at Callum, if you'd like. There it was. The shine brightened and grew within Callum's smile. It looked like he wanted to suppress it, but he knew that this didn't fit his careful, constructed self. But he couldn't fully hide his enthusiasm as he nodded. Thank you, Ash. Yes, I'd like that very much. Ooh, might need to end the stream. People are coming over. Okay. Ash fell in and out of sleep on the ride, opening his eyes now and then to see the city had fallen away to smaller neighborhoods and scattered towns, until finally all evidence of human disappeared into rocky fields.